Shalom. We always emphasize that when we study Torah, we're not studying history, book of history, or something about bygone past. We're not reading about what happened then. We're really reading about our own lives, because we are somehow the key to the whole mystery of the saga of Hashem's relationship with all of creation and the blessing that's brought into the world through Israel. And as we've been reading the book of Numbers, we felt this so acutely, and we have been witness to the struggles of identity, the pull between greatness and failure that is so much the hallmark of the generation of the desert. We've been saying the whole time, we are that generation, because we are wanting so much to go into the land of Israel, as it were, to possess it, to fix all of these issues. And we've lived through the failure. We've lived through the sin of the spies and the decree that was cast upon that generation. And that generation, the generation of desert that was so high, that was so holy, that heard the thunder of the voice at Sinai and received the Torah and ate the manna, that generation that pushed the envelope of testing Hashem's presence so far, that generation was decreed to die out in the desert. And 39 years later, we are reading in these concluding parshiot the story of the generation that is poised and ready to go into the land. And now we are that generation, you see, because we are the missing link. The Torah is vibrant, vital. It's the story of our own lives. And we are playing our part to bring about the tikkun of all of the generations, and the test is really ours. And so this is always the key to understanding the actuality of everything that we're studying about in the Torah. We see ourselves so clearly. And so now we come to Parshat Balak, and we've been through so much. And this is the generation now of the land of Israel that's about to go in. And there's been so many false starts, and there's been so much ineptitude, and again, the crowning achievement of the inadequacy, the sin of the spies, and the acceptance of that terrible tale-bearing against the land. But now the nation is about ready to go in. Moses knows the future. He knows he has to prepare the people to go in. And there are still forces that are going to try to prevent this equation from being completed. The equation of the people of Israel coming into the land of Israel, embracing the Torah of Israel, that's going to bring about a tremendous paradigm shift of consciousness, a tremendous change for all of humanity. There are forces at work that don't want that to happen. And so, in this week's Torah portion, we encounter this effort that's going to be made now by this unlikely alliance of Moab and Midian, by the king Balak, who himself was a great hater of Israel, because he was a great hater of the God of Israel, and he hired this heathen prophet Bilam to curse the people of Israel, to stop them from, ostensibly, from going into the land, and really on a deeper level to stop them altogether, to drive them from the world. And Bilam is a very amazing character. He was actually quite astute. He was a tremendous, accomplished spiritual master. In some ways, he was on the level of Moses himself. In fact, he's kind of like a parallel, like a twinner on a dark side of Moses, in this twisted potential of what he could have accomplished in the world. And of course, he used it for evil. Bilam is very devout. He keeps saying that he can't do anything if Hashem doesn't allow it. He feels very close to God. He's also seen as a great intellect, a great philosopher. And of course, he was intensely religious. He was a great prophet. And he had the power of the spoken word. He was immensely accomplished and glib and silver-tongued. He knew exactly how to deliver a curse that would be realized. And of course, this is all very ironic, because back in Genesis we read Jacob declared that the hands are the hands of Esav, and the voice is the voice of Jacob. So the strength, the tool of the children of Israel is the voice, is prayer, is the articulation of words for holiness. And these evil people, Balak and Bilam, they knew that. So they wanted to turn it around. And they wanted to use this weapon of words against people of Israel themselves. And this is like the first recorded presentation of this art form that's become so popular in the world, the art form of the spin, the art form of the political twist. And here we see the beginning of the concept of delegitimizing Israel and of wanting to say that Israel has no right to be in the land. Because actually when we read the verses, we read that Balak actually said to Bilam through his messengers, "This people has come out of Egypt, and it's covered the surface of the earth, and it sits opposite me." It's very interesting. It sits opposite me. Our sages tell us, I was trying to say, it's right opposite me, but I can't quite see it because the cloud of glory is in the way. And this is a very deep teaching, a very powerful metaphor that Balak was saying. I know they're there, I see them there, I can't quite see them clearly. The clouds of glory are blocking my view, and this is the idea that I can't quite really get a handle on them because this presence of God is covering over them. And this has always been the complaint. What are they all about exactly? That's what's blocking my view. So now, please come and curse this people for me, for it's too powerful for me. Perhaps I will be able to strike it and drive it away from the land. So all he was concerned about really was that they should not go into the land, because that equation of the people of Israel in the land of Israel, which we know brings blessing and bounty and sustenance and spiritual fulfillment and peace to the whole world. This is exactly what this confederation of manipulation, control, does not want to see. And for I know whoever you bless is blessed, and whoever you curse is accursed. And again, we're just in some sort of parallel universe. We're flitting between this generation and our present generation, because all the terms are practically the same. And all the protagonists and antagonists are in their positions. And not much has changed. There's always this effort to twist things, to say things, to make heavy pronouncements and advertise them. Powerful statements from high places. Statements that undermine the right of Israel to exist in the land and the right of Israel to exist altogether. So, in this saga of Balak and Bilam, now the children of Israel are about to go in. Bilam comes, and he was one of the original advisors of Pharaoh. And he is the one, in fact, who originally, in Pharaoh's inner circle, came up with the idea that the Jews should be liquidated. That was Bilam's idea. But yet, he is speaking in the name of religion. He's very, very close to God. This is his religious duty, to rid the world of Israel. Now you notice, throughout the Parsha, when he doesn't get it right, when it doesn't come out right, he says, well, come to a different place and look at them from a different angle. Look at them from a different place. And this is the template of how these powers seek to deal with Israel. They can't see it quite clearly. He sits opposite me, but the clouds of glory are in the way. Maybe if I can see them from here. Maybe if I can only catch a glimpse of them from here. I'm trying to get my mind around them, they're saying, but I can't quite figure them out exactly. They can never see the whole nation, just a bit from here and a bit from there. Meaning, the enigma that is Israel in the world from time immemorial, the power that Israel brings to the world, the spiritual progress, the dynamic of living with God in this world and everything that Israel brings about for humanity, I just can't get it. They're saying, I just can't get it. They're trying to get a glimpse, always from a different place, and always God comes to Bilam at night, as if it's some sort of shameful relationship. And there are so many parallels that can be made between the archetype of Bilam and Balak, this classic venom-spewing anti-Semite who is, for its own sake, trying to drive Israel from the world and thus really engage in mortal combat with God himself, because an attack against Israel is an attack against the God of Israel. There are so many parallels that can be made on the level of religious leaders, on the level of political leaders, on the level of intellectual and artistic professionals and their pronouncements against Israel. And we won't even go there. This is a very rich area of study to see the similarities between Bilam's tactics and words and the present day configuration as well. Rather, let's look for a moment at the blessings themselves that come out of the mouth of Bilam, and again, some of the most beautiful things ever said about the people of Israel come from Bilam, from Hashem, through the agency of this monstrous, powerful, spiritual manipulator who sought really to bring about the end of Israel, and instead found himself uttering these beautiful declarations from Aram. Balak, king of Moab, led me from the mountains of the east. Come, curse Jacob for me. Come, bring anger upon Israel. How can I curse? God has not cursed. How can I anger? Hashem is not angry. For from its origins I see it rock-like, and from hills do I see it. These words, from its origins I see it rock-like, and from hills do I see it, are an allegorical reference to the forefathers. The origins, the hills, the rocks from which we are hewn, are the Avot, the patriarchs. And the very essence of who Israel is as a people is because of the legacy, because of the DNA that the children of Israel carry from the patriarchs. And this is the covenants. And that God tells us over and over again, because I loved the forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What was it about those men that was so different, that was so earth-shattering? Whatever it was, those aspects of serving God and those character traits that they bequeathed to the children of Israel is the whole problem. From its origins, I see it rock-like, and from hills do I see it. This is our problem with Israel. It's because they are carrying those attributes, those goals, the same lofty aspirations that the forefathers had. And this is who the children of Israel are. Behold, it is a nation that will dwell in solitude and not be reckoned among the nations. Who has counted the dust of Jacob, or numbered a quarter of Israel? This is an allegorical allusion to the commandments that Israel adheres to, the commandments of circumcision, commandments of purity. And this is also a bone of contention with Bilam. May my soul die the death of the upright, and may my end be like his. To see in the future the reward that awaits Israel, to want to be part of that, but not to live the life, not to make that step of commitment, not to walk the walk of the upright in this world, but to be buried, to die the death of the upright. The second blessing, in the second blessing he says, God is not a man that he should be deceitful, nor a son of man that he should relent. Would he say and not do, or speak and not confirm? Behold, to bless I have received, he has blessed, and I shall not contradict it. He perceived no iniquity in Jacob, and saw no perversity in Israel. Hashem, his God, is with him, and the friendship of the king is in him. This is a a profound statement about the true nature of the relationship between God and Israel, and the fact that at the highest level of the root of Israel, no matter what surface tarnish there is no iniquity in the root of Jacob, and that will never change. Balak, when he hired Bilam, what were his words? He said, "Behold, a people has come out of Egypt." Just like that. A people has come out of Egypt by themselves. But Bilam corrects him here in the second blessing. And he says, in the second blessing, "It is God who brought them out of Egypt, according to the power of his loftiness." It's a different reading of history. And this is part of the whole pattern. From the time of Bilam to the present day, it depends how you read history. Did they come out of Egypt? Bilam says it was God who brought them out of Egypt. And this is what makes all the difference. It was God who brought them out. It is God who is bringing them into the land of Israel. It is God who is keeping them in the land of Israel today. It is God whom they represent when they are in the land of Israel. So he's correcting Balak and saying, they didn't come out of Egypt. It was God who brought them out of Egypt. And all the beautiful statements that are made here, about which there is endless explanation and speculation, in the third blessing, again, he tells us it is God who brought him out of Egypt according to the power of his loftiness. It's in the third blessing where Bilam utters the famous words that have become part of the morning service every day in the synagogue for the people of Israel. "How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel." And on the deepest level, three blessings that he gave are like the three holy temples. And the third blessing, he looked out and he saw the future. And he says, "How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel." And this has been interpreted to indicate his great appreciation of the modesty of Israel. He saw how the tents of the children of Israel don't face each other, and how the children of Israel, even in their encampment, are so concerned about safeguarding family values and modesty. But on a deeper level, what are the tents that he's referring to? What are the dwelling places? He looked in the future, Bilam, with all of his power and all of his desire to uproot Israel and all of his jealousy, representing the very same paradigm of the relationship between Israel and the nations today. He looked in the future and he saw the settlements. He saw the enterprise of Israel returning to her own land in our own day. He saw the communities that are sprouting up in the biblical heartland of Israel. He referred to these as the goodly tents, these as the dwelling places. And this third blessing is the blessing that corresponds to the third temple. And he saw Israel returning to her land and preparing to rebuild the temple. And he knew that all the power in the world and all the gold and silver of Balak and all the spiritual manipulation and tools of divination and all the sorcery that he could muster would be no power against that relationship between God and the people of Israel. God sees no iniquity in Jacob. And try as they may, the heirs of Balak and Bilam that try to uproot Israel and drive her from the land will not succeed, because he saw the origins rock-like, that Israel continues with a legacy of the forefathers, and in returning to Israel and building the land of Israel and settling the land of Israel, we are indeed the generation that goes into the land and that begins the process of redemption for Israel and for all mankind.